Okay, welcome to the City of Groton Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, August 16th, 2021. Clerk Peters, please call the roll.
Present, we have Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Guinevere Depot, Councilor Lisa McCabe, Councilor Christine Piazza, Councilor Stephen Sheffield, excused is Councilor Paul Norris, and Clerk Megan Peters.
Okay, all stand and salute the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Recognitions, awards, and memorials, Council. Yeah, I just want to make you aware that the first selectman for Bosser, Carl Zorn, passed away on August 9th. So I would like to take a moment of silence to honor him and recognize his family. Okay, thank you. Receipt of citizen petitions. Receipt of citizens petitions is a portion of the council meeting where the council welcomes comments from citizens. To address the council, please sign the sheet on the table in front of the meeting room. When you're recognized, please approach the podium. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less. And citizens should, if possible, submit emailed or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the City of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during responses to citizens petitions portions of the meeting. Do we have anyone who would like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on, and we will skip over response to citizens petitions comments. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I'd like a motion to approve the August 2nd, 2021 Mayor and Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, communications and reports. Tonight, I've asked Superintendent of Schools, Susan Austin, to come, and we've been talking about working with the schools for programs for our kids in the city. And so Susan and the Board of Ed and her office and staff have been working on a larger program, and I've asked her to come and brief us on that initiative. So if you could come up, please.
So good evening, everyone. In schools, we like to use acronyms. So you see GPS for Groton Public Schools, and the ARP-ESSER plan is a plan for the American Rescue Plan with relationship to elementary, secondary schools and the emergency relief.
If you're comfortable, you can remove your mask if we have
Okay.
6-foot distancing.
Okay,
That
good.
is allowed, and you may be a little more clear
Okay,
in this.
I'm
But
happy to
Only if
do
you're
that.
comfortable.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Although we are preparing to mask again. Our kids have been masked all through summer school, and we had over 1,000 children participating in camps and all kinds of programs and taking mask breaks outside, but they did a really fine job, so I was really pleased with the participation. So part of the funding for this ARP-ESSER does include things like summer school, and to really do an engaging, uplifting program that is out for everyone. So we did that this summer using ESSER 2. So we've had an ESSER 1, an ESSER 2, and this is really considered an ESSER 3. So I even have a sheet to kind of show you how this works. Each of them have a time span. So the first ESSER we received about a year ago, and it goes till 2022. ESSER 2 goes to 2023, and ESSER 3, this ARP-ESSER goes all the way to 2024 school year, which is really good because we don't want to be able to get grant funding, federally funded monies, and get on a cliff. So it's really important that we have sustainability with all of these grants. I'm used to managing a lot of grants, especially with Department of Defense. Dr. Grenier and I received close to $10 million in Department of Defense, and that's why we've been able to do this incredible launching in Groton of a lot of valuable, high-quality instruction and professional development. So we just know about sustainability and how important that is. So these grants really have a gradual release. We had a planning committee. So the committee consisted over 20 people from across the district, educators, parents, community members, board members, principals and teachers and paraprofessionals. So we really had a wide range across the district from all the schools, and that was really helpful. It wasn't something that was mandated by the state, but it was encouraged to really go out and seek feedback. So between, going to parent groups and going to the town council and to the RTM liaison committee and others, we were able to vet this particular grant and what we want to accomplish in it. The state also provided parameters, and I'm going to go through that on what the priorities are in this grant. And they're all things that I so appreciate as an educator, and we've been really working on over all these years. So there were no surprises with that. So we're going to go over the history of the ESSER, and that sometimes is called the CARE Act, and I'm going to show you a page that really outlines that, and talk about the purpose and the priorities. Included in this not only was the budget, but SMART goals, which I'll share with you for your reading pleasure. They had to be written smart, so you have to really anticipate measured growth in our kids, which I always, am very hopeful and measure. And we've seen significant growth in the 7 years that I've been here and Dr. Grenier has been here for our kids, so we're really happy. We know that COVID-19, though, was like no other year. We know that from child to child, classroom to classroom, family to family, school to school, district to district, all over this country, kids had different experiences, and even in our own state, helping them to be able to take the test, whether remotely or at home, for the SBAC was really arduous. But I was really pleased with the outreach from the schools and others to really encourage our kids to come to school and to also be assessed, so we'll have some ideas on how they're doing. So besides all of that, we also had to do a safe return to school. And the committee, actually, that was one of the first tasks that we had. So we really, in June, we're trying to fathom, well, what is it going to be like? So the language was really vague in the beginning, like we wouldn't mask the kids unless it was deemed necessary. Now through the Ledge Light Health and CDC and all the information, this area is like a hot spot. So we will be having kids mask, at least in the beginning, and we're going to be, like we've always been, really connected to the health experts to lend us, the best advice. So we will monitor that very carefully. So this whole package had to be sent in. It was due today. I got it in last week, but we worked on it as a committee, and even at the very end, I sent out all the information to the committee and got feedback on it. So I really value having expertise like I did and thoughtful partners to really question and ask and push us to really try to do this the right way. So it's been submitted. Check. So we can go to the next slide. So there are very specific priorities. The priorities, everything from accelerated learning, renewed academics, they call it, that to really look at, not to go backwards, but to kind of accelerate learning and go forward, but fill those gaps. So in other words, if a child did homeschooling or remote learning, you're not going to have them repeat that grade. You're going to take them where they are. You're going to make sure that they've got everything to fill their buckets when when we launch them. And there are kids who will be surprising us and have learned things maybe they wouldn't have learned in school. So there are some silver linings in all of this. I've heard it from parents, I've heard it from teachers, I've heard it from, all around town and the city. So we look forward to getting them all back and really moving them forward. And then, of course, it talks about submitting this plan, which has been submitted. So these are the buckets that I was talking about. I call it the story of the three S's. Sounds like a story to me, but it certainly was appreciated to get that kind of level of support. Connecticut relief funds came in at $1.3 million in the very initial part of this, when we were really closing down in March of 2020. Then the ESSER One CARES Act came in at $685,000. CARES Act or ESSER 2 came in at $3 million, and ARP ESSER is at $6.8 million. So that is a lot of money. And in the beginning, it was buying shields and masks and PPE, additional custodians who I'm keeping because they've been worth their weight in gold with those touch point areas, and really building confidence in everyone to have them there and to make sure that, you know, things are the way they need to be. I had mentioned the PPE substitute teachers. We had, you know, magnificent teachers who had real severe healthcare issues. A teacher like a calculus teacher is a hard teacher to find, so they were able to teach remotely, but you had to have a substitute in the room with the kids, you know, to help answer questions, to be able to be available, to supervise. So in other words, even if you had staff that could teach remotely, you still had to provide a person in the building. So a lot of our funds were in people. And we knew it was for this period of time, and we know it is this period of time. And in the future, we hope that we won't need all of these extra people, that calculus teacher will be in the classroom and will be in that classroom this year and has been fully vaccinated. So, you know, that's the really good news. The other area that we really focused on was tutoring. One of the things that my reading specialists, I have reading specialists and reading interventionists in every school at every level. We have math specialists as well, and we have tutors. So the tutors really are under the tutelage of these specialists and interventionists, who are our most highly qualified teachers. Not only do they have a teaching degree, but they have a master's or beyond a master's in literacy as a consultant. And those are the people that you really want working with our kids who need the most help, you know, and to be able to supervise a tutor in working with them. So a lot of our funds went towards that initiative, and that's something that Mayor Hendrick has talked to me about, possibly partnering. So we were able to provide this tutoring during school last year, before and after school. We'll continue to do it that way. During the summer, one of the interventionists had said, you know, Susan, whether it was remote one-on-one or with a small group, or whether it was in person, that time was so valuable for the kids and for me that we really were able to pinpoint and target areas that they were struggling with better than we can in a whole classroom filled with kids. So upon their good suggestion, we really provided a program out of every school. We went to the sites for the Parks and Rec, so that if they were meeting in person, they would go to the Parks and Rec or the schools that were open for camps to meet the kids where they were. Or they did remote, or they worked out of their own school. So that really was a big success story. As a matter of fact, I'm putting together little packets for all the kids who participated in it, and I thought it was about 350, and I think it's more like 400. So they're getting school supplies for the beginning of the year, journals and books, and, you know, a gift certificate to their first book fair, Scholastic Book Fair, and pens and stickers and all those fun things, so that they can continue the literacy journey. So that's, you know, that's the people that we have to support us in all of this.
Question, all of this funding, are these dollar amounts for the Groton School District, or is this all of Connecticut, the 1.3, the
This
3
is
million?
just Groton,
Okay.
yeah. And New London, you know, and a lot of the bigger city schools have gotten, you know, really a nice amount of funding to help support this initiative. But I'll move on. I get caught up telling the story. So I had already said this, but, you know, the major reason that we have this is to really take care of any learning loss that might have occurred, you know, take care of all of the needs around COVID with health and safety. We really plan on, when we first started out, we said start slow and grow, kind of like the tortoise and the hare, you know. Sometimes slow and steady wins the race, said the tortoise to the hare. And then we wanted to really grow that initiative even further, and then we want to go back to better than normal this year, and really are very hopeful about that. And it's really, schooling is really all about relationships and caring for one another and the social emotional learning aspect. So that's built into this grant as well, and I'll be sharing with you some specifics around that. So we can move to, the kids had a lot of screen time and probably too much screen time. So when we brought them back really more in full in the spring, we lessened the screen time, and it was really important for those teachers to be teaching the kids in front of them. And we continued to have the remote learning, but less of the screen time. And people were thrilled about that. And then there was virtually no screen time for the camps. The camps were, flying paper airplanes and measuring how far they would go and doing all those fun things that engage kids. So these are the priorities. The priorities are the learning acceleration, academic renewal, and student enrichment. And that's a lot of what I've talked about with providing the teachers necessary in the classroom, the tutors, the interventionist, all those people who can support that learning. We even have a student data manager now who works out of the tech department, and his real priority and job not only is to look at instructional technology and software, but to also look at student data to make sure all of our kids have access to everything and that they're doing, everybody's moving along forward. The next one is family and community connections, and that's really important. So we've done a lot of surveys, focus groups with families, meeting with families, taking phone calls, and one of the things I really want to do is to, get to some of the neighborhoods. I know that we had talked about, getting out to Balfour Beatty, which has a lot of our Navy community. Right there at Pequannock, we've got a lot of our families who've walked to school, and now Clodchester is closed. So, that's going to be difficult. So really to find out what their needs are. And then there's the social emotional learning, mental health, and for the kids and the adults, everybody has struggled with this. And so we're going to be really monitoring that. We have social workers now in each of the schools. We have school counselors and school psychologists. And we really had teams in every school that went to kids' homes and, knocked on doors, and teachers, really caring about them and saying, come to school, or, come on Zoom, we need you to engage. So that worked in many cases, but it didn't work in some. So, it's going to be really interesting to be able to find out how they're doing. And then the technology, staff development, making sure that we don't have that digital divide. Last year, we really surveyed all the parents again and found out who needed hotspots, who needed access, and we started out to be a one-to-one district. So back when Dr. Grenier was here 8 years ago, through Department of Defense funding, we were able to make sure every high school student at Fitch had a one-to-one Chromebook, and they were able to take it home and bring it back and keep it even after graduation. So then a couple years after that, we made sure that was happening for the middle schoolers as well. And now we were able to, overnight basically, make sure that our littlest learners had computers, Chromebooks, home, and then they had something at school because we didn't want them taking them back and forth. And then the access to technology. Those hotspots don't always work that well. And I was on plenty of teacher lessons and breakout groups with kids and knowing when the technology failed them. And that's an awfully hard place to be in. I know I don't like that as an adult, when I'm presenting or trying to talk on Zoom and something doesn't work. So that's something that we're still investigating and trying to figure out. That's a partnership I wish we could have, the city, the town, and even the schools. Like, how can we make sure that we have accessible technology in some of our neighborhoods so that kids have it all the time? Maybe even to do something in our schools where they could come to the school and have access. So we're really talking about those kind of things. And then finally is the building safe and healthy schools, and all those things that I talked to you about, mitigating, procedures and and keeping the buildings clean and safe. But also, one of the things that is allowable in this grant is HVAC systems. Now, we do have our 2 new schools, Thames River and Mystic River. We have our new Groton Middle School. But we have a vintage side of Fitch that needs some help and some work with the HVAC. And we have our Charles Barnum School that also could use that. So we're talking to the town. And I've allocated about $1 million from this grant just for the sake of the HVAC system. Instead of asking the town for CIPs and asking folks for more money in taxes, we're really trying to find ways that we can really work together to get the things that the school needs to make them safe and clean and healthy and, you know, and that we can do together. So I think there's one more picture of kids, or there might be the graph, which is very hard to see, but I think when you see this, you'll see the priority goals, and I can leave this with you. And then I have one, this was tailored for the last bucket is the ESSER 3, and we said, what if we took that 6.8 and divided it equally? What would that look like? But after the whole team worked on it and we got better information, we definitely put more money, about 38% in the teaching and learning, in the learning bucket, and about 28% in family, community, and social emotional learning. And then the rest was for technology and healthy buildings. So that's what that chart shows. It shows you the ESSER 1, the ESSER 2, and the ESSER 3. And this will show you the staff members that were, you know, hired for this period of time, and community coordinators, food service we supported, and you saw that we were able to get the extension. I was really pleased about that. We had to call the state and ask for the extension, but our kids will have meals now until September 3rd. So sometimes you just have to know who to call.
That's great.
So I think that's about it. I think there's, so this is the state's idea that at first we survived, which we called start slow and grow. Then we needed to thrive, which is progress over perfection, I said, because it certainly wasn't perfect. And then there was transform, back to better than normal. So taking those silver linings and some of the new ways that we learned to really engage kids and do it better. So that's our story, but I'm here to answer any questions.
So one of the things that has come up in the last year here locally is what could we do to help our local kids here in the city? And we have some targeted communities that, based on information from the schools, tell us where we need to target, where we need to go. And one of the things that we're looking at is, I think everybody has a budget. We're working with Superintendent Austin to look to see if they can support this and if they would be willing to support this with education ARPA dollars. And if not, then I will be coming back to you as the council. But this is looking at the Branford Manor, Groton Estates, and other areas, not focused on a given area and leaving out somebody else, but focused on all our targeted areas. We have an estimate here, about 25 students. We'll have a tutor, and we'll have our community resource officer, or community services officer, be involved in this. And it's 2 nights a week through the school year. So this is tutoring. And so basically what you have is a monthly cost of around $2,100. And that's per month. And we do that for the 10 months. That's around $21,000, right around in there. So, and we're looking to do that for the next 2 or 3 years, whatever we'll have funds for. And then we're going to gauge and measure that. And if we see that it's effective, then we'll go talking to people and seeing if there's a way to continue to fund it. Because one of the concerns that I always have is starting up something that I'd be able to maintain it in the long run. But I think right now our kids need this, and so I reached out to Dr. Austin several months ago about talking about this, and they were, she and her staff were already looking at a bigger picture, which is what you see now. And the bigger picture is good, but I'm focused on what can we do here in the city? What kids need it? Where can we go? Those kind of things. And I'm looking at a couple of different venues. We're looking at possibly St. John's Christian Church. We're looking at this at the community center at Bradford Manor, and we've talked to them, and they will let all the kids from around the city go in, not just Bradford kids, in order to support this. So we're finalizing some of the particulars here, and we're looking for funding on it. But that's what we're looking to do here in the city proper. So that's part of this with what Dr. Austin's talking about. So now we'll open up the council for discussion.
Yeah.
Councilor Sheffield.
Mayor, would this program be better off at the school facility itself, at the Thames River,
Well,
to have something in that environment, if you will?
so we're still in discussions. So here's the thing. We've had kids walk to the school before, and then we've had other kids that didn't walk to the school. So whether the school's a better environment or not, if you can't get the kids there, it don't matter how good the environment is. So I'm trying to get the environment as close to the kids as we can, right? So we need to come up with a compromise to have a place for the kids and get the kids to where the tutoring is. Does that make sense? So we are working with the schools to help figure this out.
I would think probably the school environment, I think, would be better. I know St. John's would probably likely to help, but you bring that religious aspect into it, so you want to,
Well, I understand, but it's not going to be promoted as a religious thing.
Oh, I know.
It is an area. So right now, there are several things that are on the table. And my concern is, where can we do this so that we're going to get the kids to be there, right? Because that's what's important, is getting the kids there. And we're working with Dr. Austin. Councilor Carter.
And when you were presenting this, and even mentioning this, my main thing was the engagement. I know just by being in the community and just knowing and working with that population for years, it's one thing having something and having things in place and programs in place, which Groton has over time has had different things.
Yep.
But it's more than just having that. It's actually, the parents and guardians, getting them involved and actually getting the kids there.
Right.
And time over time, you've seen it's generally some of the same parents that keep their kids in things, and the kids that actually need it, they don't have it.
Right.
They don't attend it. It's more of like a family dynamic thing.
Yep.
Frankly speaking. So I think, even mentioning the school thing, just having the cafeteria and basketball court there and whatnot, little things like that. You study, then you can shoot some hoops or whatever. Like those are some of the things and the incentives that are going to get kids there, So I also think, talking to the parents and holding them accountable, because what you're going to see, and I just know it, is you're going to have this program and the kids that need it aren't going to attend.
Well, then I'm going to need your help, helping us figure out what to do. I mean, we're going to work with the schools. We got a good idea here.
No, absolutely.
And
This is a
so
great idea. This is what we need. But frankly speaking,
but I recognize there's no cure-all for all this, right? It is a family effort. It is a community effort, and we need to get everybody involved. That's
absolutely.
why I want to reach out with the schools, because they have experience with that. Reach out with you, with your involvement in the community, the other counselors, with your involvements in the community, to encourage everybody to get involved in why this is a good thing.
It is a
and why
good
it's
thing.
good for the kids and why it's good for the families.
It is a good thing, and
Yep.
I'm staying. I'm applauding everybody's efforts. But when it's all said and done, we say things that it all looks good on paper, things that we provide. But the real thing is, what are we going to do to get those kids that need it in the room?
Yep.
That's the issue.
Yep. So I'll be reaching out to you to get your ideas on this. And anyone else that wants to be involved in this. Any counselors that want to be involved in this, anybody that's out there watching television, if you want to be involved in helping educate the kids in the city of Groton, give us a call. Call 860-446-4103. Give us a call. It's not a telethon. It's 860-446-4103. This is educate our kids, right? There's nothing more important to our future than our children. And I agree with you, and I agree, Steve, Councilor Sheffield, with what you're saying. We're going to continue to work with Dr. Austin to make sure that we're doing this right. Deputy Mayor.
I have two questions. First one, are you requiring anyone that works in the public school to be vaccinated this fall?
We can't require, but I've certainly emphasized the importance. And we had, I saw so many teachers at Foxwoods getting shots. And so we sent out all that information to all of our staff, our bus drivers too. And so, you know, everybody got the call. And I continue to send out information. We had probably 6 vaccination clinics right at Fitch. So I wanted those kids to go to prom and dance. So I said, they got to have those 2 vaccines before prom and graduation. So we set it up at Fitch, and we even offered it to other schools, the Marine Science School, because we had some extra seats, Ledyard High. So that was really successful. And then we got some of our middle school students. I've got one set up now with the Pfizer, because that's the only one that they can have. And we've got one set up for September 9th. So we're going at it again. And any staff, so we really are encouraging them to do that.
So is the clinic that's on September 9th, is it only for students and staff, or can, like, if a student's parent hasn't been vaccinated yet, they can
We
go?
encourage families, so we
Okay.
had families coming down during that time. And if I have to send a school bus over to pick up families and bring them over, I will, because I think that's really important.
Okay. My other thing was to kind of piggyback on what the other 2 counselors said, is will this community tutor for, I don't know what their title's going to be, but will they have, so I'm trying to think back to when I was in school, and I know that a lot of kids didn't get help they needed because they weren't going home and telling their parents, like, hey, I need a tutor. Like, you have that whole gap of kids that might need help, but isn't engaging their parents. So is this community tutor going to be able to go to their house and say, hey, I had an interaction with your child at school. They're interested in maybe getting some tutoring services. Can we work together to make that happen? Will they have the power to do that? Because I know that's impossible for a teacher to do. They're working at school all day. That's not something that they can really do.
They actually did that, a lot of that.
During
Teachers-
right. But I mean-
Teachers, deans, and, yeah. So
But I
they
mean,
were doing that.
on a
Yeah.
regular basis, generally they don't have the ability because all the
Right.
students are in schools.
Yeah,
So they've
that's
got,
true.
so during that's amazing that they've taken the opportunity to do that. But going back to, kind of normal a little bit, they're probably not going to be able to do that as much because they're going to have more students in person. So I think, one kind of push in a positive direction would be this community tutor to have the ability to interact with the parents at home and knock on doors and say, hey, we have this service available for city kids. Would you like to enroll your kid in it or whatever? Like, I think that'd be a good.
Okay. Councilor Piazza? We'll go with first hands first and then
Okay,
second time speakers. Councilor Piazza.
thank you. I just wanted to understand, so is this a pilot program we're looking at to do? Is this what we're looking at, is that we're hoping to start it in September, it's a pilot program? And to piggyback off that, is that the sites that you're selecting, is it just basically a lottery of children that'll be coming, or because their educational level, or how are they being picked in this area?
That's a really good question. We haven't gotten into those details. When we've done provided tutoring, we have what we call scientifically research-based interventions, another SRBI. So we have all these acronyms, And so they're students who have either help in the classroom, they need a different level of support, maybe they need even more support than that, but beyond the core. And it also goes with the qualifications of the teacher. So having the highly qualified teacher for the student who needs it the most. So the thing I wanted to talk to Mr. Hendrick about is maybe providing other tutors too in this, so that we can meet the needs. An elementary teacher, and maybe it's a certified teacher, but an elementary teacher teaching reading, has all these tools in their toolkit. And then for an older student, they have other tools in their toolkit. So it's really important that we match that right, so that you have the appropriate staff to help support the needs of the student who's highly qualified and trained and knowing how to engage kids, which Counselor Carter talked about. I think that's really important. So this would be something that I think we can support in lots of different ways. I know that Pfizer has reached out to me, and Electric Boat. They have a tutoring program, and I've always had a hard time connecting kids with these tutors because they usually do it off-site. So if they had a site like this where they could go and help support, especially our high school kids, in math and science, that would be terrific. So, I think there's things that we can certainly do if we sit down at the table and just work out the details. We are providing the tutoring before and after school in all of our schools. So that will be happening too, and I'm going to make sure that we have transportation for kids. So, we have several late buses for the high school and the middle school. But I've even thought about how can I safely do this for elementary families, because I want every child to have access. I don't want any child not to be able to take an enrichment course or a tutoring because the parents don't have a way to get them home. So that's kind of my mission I'm on. It would be very convenient to have it if it was in a child's neighborhood, if we had several neighborhood sites, because I think that's just really convenient. I have to go past the Pequannock and I'm watching the kids play football, and I love it because my kids used to do that too. So it had those memories. And, this little guy, and he's got his shoulder pads on us, and he's walking home, and it's not dark yet. And I'm thinking, see, this is like the old-fashioned neighborhood. Like you used to go down to the corner park to play ball, and you can walk home. I mean, there's so many places in our country that doesn't happen anymore. So that's the beauty of Groton, that we still have those kind of things happening for our kids. So, it's going to be a project, but I think working together, I'm looking forward to partnerships, because I think the more people that come together that have insight, the better decisions we'll make. And then maybe what we might have to do is survey the parents and see how interested are they. Go to my interventionists who are working with kids over time, and who do you think might. I was just so surprised at the number of teachers and the number of students that came out to do this summer learning program, K through 12. And I thought they're just going to be too tired, but they weren't. And teachers were saying at the end of the school year with these camps, I am so glad we ended the school year like this. This is just the way we needed to do it. And they were so happy. The kids were so happy. So, I'm just an optimist, but I think it can be done. And I'm going to see it through, too.
And I just want to remark off the camps, because I did drive for all three of them.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Thank you.
And my granddaughter was, you're welcome.
Oh, good.
My pleasure. My granddaughter was involved in, and also tutoring. So and I always looked in her pack, even though, her mom is my older daughter. But, I mean, you guys, they did send out the questionnaires. How did you like it? But, so I just bouncing off what Counselor Carter's saying is about getting parents' involvement. Of course, her mom's involved, I was involved. I got to talk to her and say, would you, I think I think it was really dynamic. They did a lot of hands-on, which I think is really important.
It is
because
so
you have
important.
different levels of learning and types of learning. But I mean, I think the survey is really good. I think bouncing off with Deputy Mayor Deepa was saying in reference to who would actually know, because I think about my granddaughter, we're looking at ages 10 and above. Some may not be able to say, I need tutoring, so I think in the school system, obviously, we're depending on those who are involved in their education to be able to say that, and I think that's how my granddaughter, was brought to that level to be able to go to the camps, to be signed up for the camps. But I like the survey back, but I think what was most important to me is ask her.
Right.
So I looked
Yep.
at the questions and asked her in her own way, what did you like about the camp? Of course, I always ask her, what'd you do today? And what did you think about that? So what did that mean?
Yeah,
Blah, blah, blah.
right.
But, it is important. How do we get the parents involved in that? How do we get them to say those things? How do we, so bouncing off of that, when did the surveys come back to you? And is that something that's followed up, that will help gear and develop this program and further?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We use them so often. It's a great way to get two-way communication. We even put up the Google Docs on the website for the safe return to school, and parents are able, and the new two-tiered bus system, so people are able to give us feedback, and then we can put out frequently asked questions and get back to people if they've given us that information. So it's very helpful.
Yeah. The only thing I'd like to say as a bus driver, driving is, I would like to see their projects, and this is probably even through the school year, where they can be
Safely,
safely contained.
yes.
Well, just safely contained.
Yeah.
You know, because there was a couple of them where, you know, after I drop them all off and we check the bus, it's like, you know, they had feathers. Of course, a lot of feathers wanted to be flown off the bus, the windows, you know. Yes. But I mean, just some things that would fall off, and you could tell some were like really like, you know, some would cry. My thing fell off, you know, just so how we could. I mean, I'd love to be involved to try to figure that out from where they're going to home to
Right.
safely get that package somehow.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, like I said, this is the first time that we've attempted this here focused in the city of Groton as a council, as a mayor and council. And there's going to be some growing pains with it and some learning things that we'll do. But I think overall, in the end, it's going to be a positive thing. It's going to be good for the kids. It's going to be good for the parents and good for the families. And that's what this is all about, right? Because we have a wonderful bunch of residents here, and we have a lot of kids here. And you know, we all want to see them do well. We don't want any of them to be left behind. And we're going to try to give them as much opportunity as we can. Councilor Carter.
Just a couple minutes, just real quick. What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. As you were thinking, as far as engagement and all that other stuff, and my assistance, and then you brought up football, which is a kudos to you. That's actually what. Oh, nice. There you go. Yeah, nice, sweet. That's the reason why I was late, because I was coaching football at some part. Yeah, at Colchester. But you know, I'll pass all this on to the director, and that's one way. I mean, I have 20 kids that are all middle schoolers that, you know, I mean, I speak to their parents every day. And there's cheerleaders involved and other levels, so immediately, you know, we'll get that. As soon as you guys get it going, then I'll pass on that information to them. And,
Perfect.
All right, so.
All right. Anything else for Dr. Ross? Okay, Susan, thank you very much.
Thank you
being
for
here.
inviting me. This was really terrific, and I'm looking forward to this partnership.
We're going to be reaching out to you the next couple of days.
Yeah, and when Thames River is open, I think I get to do the walkthrough this week. Woohoo! I mean, I've been walking through all along, but it is one beautiful school. And Mystic River, too. They're sister schools. So we did this for Groton Middle School and had a walkabout and invited folks. So we'll do the same once I'm able to get
Great.
people in.
I just want to say on that, when they were doing summer school, actually, I was bringing this, those Colchester, the summer program, to the beach. So I went, Teasdale Point Beach, so I took the long way around. You know, there's usually different routes, but I was like, I'm going to go by the new school, you know, so they're like, oh, we'll run the lab at the new school.
Yeah.
So all the kids are like, oh my God, look at the playground.
All right, the playground is, and the basketball
But just to
court
bring
and
it
the.
so they can get real excited about
Yeah.
going to the most school.
I think it's a community effort. Talk about a partnership. That Groton 2020, we did it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night. Okay, we will continue on with communication reports. Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed Groton City Day. Working with my fellow councilors, serving food to the community. It was a lot of fun. It was
Okay,
a great event.
it was. I agree. Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, City Day was very good, great turnout, everybody had, seemed like a lot of fun, and proud to be a part of it again, my first time back, so, yeah, it was a great time. And also, last week for the Group 2 committee, we had last Tuesday, and that would be all.
Okay, Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. Also participated in Groton City Day. It was a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it. And seeing a lot of the people that I actually know from different places at Groton City Day, you know, different people I know through the community or through the church or through the school or the kids. That was nice to see them all there. And I did attend the First Wednesday of every month is the TCC and Board of Ed, so did a lot of discussing of what we are doing in Groton City, gave a whole rundown, of all the exciting things we're doing for, as far as, here, and getting people involved in our committees and what Groton Utilities is doing. I try to incorporate all the departments and what they're doing, but as briefly as possible, not taking up a lot of their time. But, they were really excited to hear, and they were very excited to hear about the Groton City Day, but also having a vaccine clinic. So actually, Dr. Austin had asked me to send what was going to be happening here and about the vaccine clinic, so I did send that to her that night as soon as I was done. And then also doing the group committee thing with my fellow counselors, and going to be hopefully meeting with Sierra Patrick on that. And still, I got a point of contact in reference to the murals, and we'll be discussing with that about somebody who's actually doing something very similar in Boston. So I'm going to be in touch with that gentleman
Great.
and just kind of get the same ideas. But also being in contact with, one of my themes is to get some young artists in, and I feel like they can be groomed by these experienced artists, I want to say. And just doing my wall, I have a wall along my pool that I'm going to freely give them. And I like to talk about Groton history, so kind of maybe I'll touch base with you, Mayor, to see what kind of things we're looking at.
Sure.
And that they can paint a mural according to that, but they also get to learn about Groton history.
Yes.
And so in their art mind, what would they like to portray? But then also I want them to do their own artwork. But then, of course, our art will be mine, but I'd like to be able to show it. But that's my plan
Okay,
before the summer's over. Get some of these young artists to
perfect.
get moving.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Carter?
Nothing too much further to report. I attended the City Day. Shout out to Mary Hill and everybody else that played a part in that. And we had some stuff, although our meeting was brief, we had some good stuff that came through there. Otherwise, nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Depot?
I also attended City Day. I got a lot of good feedback. A lot of good feedback on City Day. It was a good turnout. It was much different because we had everything kind of spread out, and we were all under the tent serving food. So afterwards, people were like, "Oh, did you see this thing?" I was like, "There was a fire truck in my way," but I got tons of good feedback, and it was fun to be under the tent and see people coming that you haven't seen in a while because we haven't been getting together too much because of COVID. So it was nice to have an event where there's a lot of room for people to come and feel safe and feel like they could come out and enjoy themselves. So, and we also had our group meeting, and I think that's it, actually. That's it.
Okay. So I have a couple things. First of all, thanks to all the counselors. Actually, everybody in this room was involved in City Day, so thank you for that. Last year, we didn't have this event, but this year we tried new things. We had an expanded format, we had an expanded menu, and we expanded the location. So we made it more family-friendly, more COVID-friendly, and we had some new entree options. We had hamburgers and hot dogs, obviously. We also had chicken, and we had vegetable patties, which did very well. So thanks to the City Day Committee for their efforts in the planning of this year's event. This week, we're going to be having an out brief to discuss lessons learned and get a packet ready for next year. How can we do things better? And to capture the good things that we did already. And I agree with you, Councilor Carter. Special thanks to Mary Hill and her staff for the setup, execution, teardown of the event. So on August 3rd, the City of Groton, along with the Town of Groton and the City of New London, entered into a sister city relationship with the City of Kingston, Jamaica, to promote opportunities for mutual beneficial practical exchanges in the field of arts, business, culture, education, health, sports, and tourism. And City Day was on a Friday, on the 6th. On the 7th was Groton Heights Open House Day, where many of the historic venues were open. The Battlefield was open, Fort Griswold was open, the Monument was open, Bill Library was open, Ebenezer Avery House, the Avery Cop House, the Flasher Memorial, and the Congregational Church. What's that?
The water taxi.
And the water taxi. So we had water taxi and we had a free shuttle. And so that went around. People had a great time. It was a wonderful Saturday. So that was good. Coming up, 240th anniversary of the Battle of Fort Griswold will be held September 4th and 5th. More information can be found on the Fort Griswold website. The City Brew Run is on Sunday, September 12th. Run a 5K, enjoy the beer fest, music, and food trucks. More information can be found on the City of Groton and Groton Utilities websites. The Riverfront Children's Center 5K at Eastern Point Beach will be held on September 18th, and more information is available on their website and also on the city's website. On Friday, August 27th, the City of Groton, in collaboration with the United Way of Southeastern Connecticut, will be distributing free food boxes at St. John's Christian Church from 12:30 to 2:30. All are welcome. No registration is required. If you're interested in volunteering or need a food box delivered to your home in the city, please contact Jill Rusk at ruskj@cityofgroton-ct.gov or call 860-446-4103. And so if you're out there and you're food insecure, call that number. And even if you think that you don't need it, if you get this box of food, it will help offset other bills. You'll have money available for other bills. So it's 860-446-4103. Let us know. You can come in and get it. There's no registration. You don't have to show ID or anything. You just come and get it. Or if you're having challenges getting out and coming to us, we will bring the food to you. So a future distribution date is Friday, September 24th. So we're trying to do this every month. We're back in the habit of doing food distributions every month for those people that need it. And there are still people out there that are still food insecure, still need some help with food. And as long as there's a need there, we're going to continue to step up to the plate to help out. Okay, Ledge Light Health District will be conducted COVID testing at the City of Groton Municipal Building every Tuesday from 3 to 7. So in the small parking lot out front, we're going to set up a drive-through so people can come through and get tested. No appointments are needed. Testing is available to everyone. SEMA 4 will process and collect your health insurance information if you have coverage, but there's no charge if you don't have coverage. So whether or not you have insurance, if you want to be tested to see if you have COVID, every Tuesday from 3 to 7, we're going to be doing this out front. So come on down. Fall and winter bus trips to the Big E and Rockettes Christmas show are now available on the City Parks and Rec page. Pedestrian and Bicycle Network Assessment Working Group is meeting August 18th from 4 to 5 at the City Municipal Building. Thames Street Planning Workshop is meeting August 25th from 5 to 6 at the City Municipal Building. And Groton City Programming Workshop is meeting September 8th from 4 to 5 via Zoom. So a couple things. Congratulations to Barbara Frucht and to Beatrice Jeanette, who were both awarded Groton Utilities Jacqueline B. Nixon Community Service Award during City Day. Groton Utilities also presented a check for $1,000 to the Bill Memorial Library in the name of Barbara Frucht, and another check for $1,000 to Steps in the name of Beatrice Jeanette. So congratulations to them, well-deserved for 2020-2021 for the Jacqueline B. Nixon Award. So the last thing I want to talk about is masks. So you may have followed the information in the newspaper and in some of the emails that I've sent to council and on Facebook, but there's been an uptick in transmission. We're at high risk, highly transmissible rather, and we're moving from yellow to red. So the municipal leaders are getting together along with Ledge Light on Wednesday to discuss whether or not we as a group are going to recommend masking in our community, which means currently right now in the city, in the municipal buildings, we require staff and residents to wear masks. And if you can get social distancing like we have here, then you can remove your mask. But I have not mandated it for businesses in the city of Groton. if the numbers continue to uptick, and if there's a recommendation from either DPH or from Ledge Light, we are the municipal CEOs are probably going to issue directives for all businesses to have masking in order to go into the businesses. Whether it's a restaurant or whether it's another commercial event, commercial entity rather, that is a potential. We are meeting on Wednesday morning. We have an emergency meeting to get together to talk about this. And I just wanted to let you know. And one of the things that I will continue to ask and continue to try to push is, if you've not received your vaccination, please get your vaccination. I recognize that there are people that don't want to get vaccinated for a lot of reasons, but, or cannot. There are some people that physically cannot because of health reasons. That is correct. Then, that's one thing. But if you can get them and you're just resistant because you're reading a blog that says, hey, you get magnetized, which is not true, or hey, they're going to slip a DNA chip in you, which is not true, then quit reading those and look at other sites. So more information will be coming out to you after that meeting on Wednesday, and I'll try to keep you informed, and I'll let the public know. I went around Friday and talked to a lot of the businesses here, and I told them that I was not at the point yet where I was ready to mandate masks unless either the governor came out, DPH, or our local Ledge Light, based on the information that we have locally, and that's why we're having our meeting on Wednesday. So that's it with the communications report. And that's it. Committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals? Okay. New business, Councilor McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-21-8-137. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the purchase of one model year 2021 International HV 507 SFA cab and chassis from Nutmeg International Trucks Incorporated, 130 Bernard Road, Hartford, Connecticut, for the price of $87,500.00, and an additional authorization to HP Fairfield, 554 Maple Street, Hopkinton, New Hampshire, for the body, hitch, plow, and hydraulics for a price not to exceed $51,217.90, for a total vehicle cost not to exceed $138,717.90, with $28,000.00 to be paid by trade-in of the model year 2004 International, and the remaining $110,717.90 to be paid from the approved fiscal year 2022 highway operating budget. I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Director Robards, if you could come up to the table and turn the microphone on. I have the Public Works Director here to talk about this motion and the next motion.
Oh, very good, thank you. So this truck is 2004 vintage. It's one that we use primarily for all of the asphalt work across the city. So it's used heavily, it's used daily. The good news is that it's right in its prime where we can make out pretty well with a trade-in. So it's got 75,000 miles on it. It's still in pretty good condition, but maintenance is starting to cost. So it's perfect time for the purchase. So.
And this was also in our budget. So it was
Correct.
one of the budgeted items for the 2022 year.
That's correct. So we had a budget for $165,000 for the truck. Coming out, after the trade-in value, it's going to cost us $110,717.90. So it's under the budget. Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the council? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you.
Resolution R-21-8-138. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the contract with Charles Pastriak Jr. Incorporated, 20 North Burnham Highway, Lisbon, Connecticut, for bituminous concrete pavement and milling as required of Mitchell Street for the quoted price of $324,791 and no cents, and an additional contingency for a total expenditure not to exceed $357,270 and no cents to be paid from approved fiscal year 2022 highway operating funds. I so move.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Director Robards.
So again, this was approved in the 2022 fiscal year ending budget, and we had requested $332,430. The price that Pastriarch has proposed is under that. We added a 10% contingency just in case we come across issues or concerns we need to address. We don't foresee that to happen, but we added that in just so we didn't have to come back. We're looking to, that work goes from the five corners. Thank you. So the work there goes from the five corners all the way down to Meridian here. We're looking to have that performed during the month of September, so that's coming up pretty timely. It'll be impactful for the flow to traffic for Electric Boat and Pfizer, but we'll reach out to both of their communications departments as well as the local police department to get us through that. So duration of the project, I would expect 1 week to a week and a half.
And that'll get us back up to speed on Mitchell Street.
Correct.
Councilor Piazza.
Thank you. So when is that going to start? In September?
As soon as early as perhaps Labor Day, but I would expect it'll be in the middle of the month. He's a little bit behind, but he's looking to get us all complete before the end of September.
So during school hours, transportation?
It'll be done during the day, but with partnering with the police station and traffic control. So the milling of the work, he's telling me he can hopefully get that done in 2 days, and then the paving going down right there, right after. So traffic will still continue. You know, if we need to, you know, it surely will be down in lanes, but, you know, we'll get the message out to Electric Boat and Pfizer and anybody else that'll be impacted and make sure that we get through that.
We should also let schools know, because when schools start?
September 7th.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Sacred Heart.
it'll be at the start of the school period.
Yeah.
Right, and the buses will be doing drive runs prior to that. So we'll be doing drive runs prior to that. I think the only thing is when we look at Mitchell Street, is the side streets getting out. I mean, obviously, if you're down lanes, it's going to take a long time, so I don't know how you want, if if you have a point of contact, to contact STA.
Yeah.
Let them know that.
I'll make sure that I reach out to them.
Yeah, if you don't have the number, I'll give it to you, so.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, good.
You're right, it is a major collector road. so-
It is, because then what happens is you have that, sometimes the families or guardians don't think about that, and then they're, if it says, 8:33 pickup or 7:12, whatever, and we're not there at 7:12, you get a lot of calls either to the schools or to there, and they're not aware sometimes of construction, they're not aware of maybe an accident or something like that, or even things like this, the parents aren't aware, sometimes they don't drive those roads, so that would be great, or if we
We'll
could do
make
like a
sure that we have
robocall
communication.
out.
Yeah, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Just out of curiosity, do we ever have the police divert traffic from EB, so like discourage people to go up Mitchell Street for those couple days? And have them use same street or the other streets?
So this.
I don't know
road-
what the traffic flow usually is. There's a lot of traffic on all the roads when EB gets out. But I was just thinking, maybe the police could help in diverting some of the traffic during portions of the day, so it's not so heavy on Mitchell Street, because like, as a bus driver, you have no option. If you have to drop a kid off at their house, you don't get to go around. That's not a choice that you have. So
Understand.
maybe we could try to divert
Well,
the
we can
people who
talk-
do have a choice.
Well, we can talk to the police, and see what they
Yeah.
want to do.
Right. Yeah, so I agree, so that's really important. So I was looking to, once this is approved, I was going to meet with the new chief and then come up with a plan. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, council, for coming out. Staff, thank you for
Thank
being here as
you.
always.